Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Hope everybody's doing well. So tonight I have our good friend Jimmy Guitar Meets Science on the channel. Jimmy's been on before and we went through a whole kind of history of how Jimmy got into guitar and how he got as amazing as he is and all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to talk about Jimmy's channel, what he's doing currently, and hopefully maybe find out some of the secrets so that we can maybe somehow approximate what Jimmy does. So anyways, without further ado, here he is. Hey Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Guitar Hack, great to see you, my friend.
Very good to see you too, man. You know what? We started talking off air and I almost lost track of time.
Hey, at least it wasn't like the last time. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did like 20 minutes and then only I never hit the live button.
You're just carrying on like nothing.
I totally forgot that. And as you said that, I'm checking. Okay, I am definitely live right now. Okay. All right. Let me say a quick hello to everyone, and then we'll get going here. And again, if anyone has questions, so let me just I'll let everyone know. So I am streaming to both Facebook and YouTube. So I am relying on the StreamYard stream. I cannot see highlighted names. So if you have questions, lots of question marks in front of the question, and then I will see those very easily. So we've got Zach Thong with us. Rick Danner, guitar player. How are you, man? There's Quentin James is with us. Rebel Rocker, nice to see you. Cushman, New York City. Welcome. Six String Brian. Sandra, thank you for being here. And Sandra's reiterating what I just said. That's awesome. Who else we got? Just going down. Original Paramutant, nice to see you. James Severin. Thrash is here. Terry Himes. Paul Liu. James Severin. Guitar Meets Science is here. That's awesome. Andy Dion. Hitriani. Dan in New Jersey. Nice to see you guys. Welcome, everybody. Andy Dion. Thomas Santiago. Lars Guitars. Okay, I think I got Hugh Caldwell. There's a new name. New name. I know Hugh, but you're new. Just seeing you now. Kevlin Music. Hey, man. Welcome. Very cool. Very cool. Gene Schmidt. Hey, buddy. Gene Schmidt. There's another monster player. Daniel Horsley. I don't know if you've seen. He did a song the other day. He's playing acoustic guitar and he's singing. I got two words. Holy shit. You got to see that. It's amazing. That is awesome, Daniel. I wish I could sing like Daniel. I wish I could play like Daniel. Never mind. Who else we got? Guitar Man 45. Nice to see ya. AZDH 85 224. Welcome. Dwight Bailey is with us. Preston Smith. Okay, I think George Lackey. All right, I think I got everyone. So again, as we go through, folks, if you have questions, question marks in front of the question. Cecil Music just joined us. How are you, Cecil? Nice to see you. Thank you, everybody, for joining, man. Awesome. We got 30 folks in here, and we already got a thumbs up on Facebook. So we're running on all cylinders here. So Jimmy, I was just talking off air. I was saying to Jimmy, it's like, I invited Jimmy on, and then I looked at Jimmy's subscriber count, and he's exploded. Like he's bursting at the seams here. What happened? All of a sudden, boom!
It's all your fault, Hack.
Oh, come on. I had nothing to do with it.
You had a lot to do with it, though. I got to meet a lot of people the last time that we had done our show together, and since since then, there was a lot of good stuff that occurred. The Bumblefoot track that I played over, where he was gracious enough to come in and give some kind words, really helped. There's been a lot of different things going on, but I met a lot of good people through this, and just talented, great people. And that's what it's all about.
You know what I really dig is you do collaborations with a ton of people, and the collabs that you do, a lot of it is very much outside the box. I mean, you just did one recently, and something lab rat or something.
Yeah.
Correct me. What's the name of the channel that you just did?
It was Lab Rat Warfare.
Warfare. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got smacked with a copyright on it, so it was the weirdest thing.
How's that?
He didn't, but I did. So I guess my guitar parts were somehow copywritten. So I was like, all right, fine. So it's not there now, but I'm hoping I could sneak it back in. Maybe I'll play some like folk guitar over the top or something.
So hang on, is this a copyright claim you got?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Or it was a strike or a claim?
No, it was a claim.
Oh, okay. Well, man, if I had a dime for every one of those, I mean, this is, you know what? It's like how they decide when to hit you and what to hit you with. It makes absolutely no logical sense, right?
Yeah.
Last Saturday, somebody was asking me play Limelight, right? So I played like, the opening, just the not like 20 seconds,
and it got pegged.
Bang, right?
Man.
And in the same show, I did Def Leppard, I did probably Van Halen, like whatever, a whole, Led Zeppelin, a whole bunch of stuff. And that's the one they singled out. And the funny thing is, I've played Limelight on, oh my God, pretty much every time I do one of those live Saturday night, and I play like more of it. and then I played almost the entire In the Mood, which is an entire Rush song. Nothing. Limelight, bang. It's like, you know what I mean? Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's so random. Yeah. When they decide to hit you. And
yeah.
And I don't know if you've gotten this too. Like sometimes when you do a backing track, if you play over a backing track and the backing track sounds like something else, you'll still get the copyright claim, even though it's not your backing track. You're just playing over it.
And they didn't get hit for it sometimes.
Yeah, what's up? It's there. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's a Santana. Yeah. And then I play it and a bang, I get hit,
Yeah.
It's totally random. Totally random.
That's all it is. And I wasn't sweating the fact that it was a copyright claim, but I was thinking, you know what? Maybe it'd be better to just kind of put it down, then maybe just remix the guitar some other time and put it back up again. Do something like that and just let it refresh again.
Well, I mean, when I get the copyright claim, I just leave it up. I mean, all that means is that whatever, the nickel that I would get, they get. So that's fine. I mean, I don't rejig anything. I just, like the last Saturday show, I'm just whatever, whatever. But yeah, you've been doing a lot of collabs, I noticed. And just before, I don't know, I don't see him in here, Spacey Jazzy Blues. Yeah. But Spacey Jazzy put out a thing where he basically played, and he's another great player, and he did Honky Tonk Woman, and then he asked a bunch of people to play on it. So I gave it a shot. You're on there, and what he did was really, really cool. And I believe the video is coming out tonight at midnight. And what he did was, you guys should check it out. It's very cool. So he's got myself, he's got Jimmy. Who else is on there? Don, 3-Chord Jams, got Mitch on there.
Rick Romanelli's on there.
Rick Romanelli, Brian Cote is on there, I think. And what he did was some of the guys sent him video. He didn't ask me for video. And when you don't have video, he's just took clips of videos existing. And he basically did this so everybody's got like a verse and a chorus, and it's cool because you can kind of hear everybody's take on it. And it's very well done. So hopefully he'll pop in the chat, but check that out.
Yeah,
It's coming out tonight. It's coming out
turned out
tonight.
great.
Yeah,
Turned out
it
really.
turned out really, really good. But yeah, man, you've been doing a ton of collaborations. Like, have you got like a list of stuff that because it seems like once a week or more you're putting out these things.
That's the way it's been happening this year. Actually, this year I started off all by my lonesome doing the normal stuff, and then before, just some were coming in, and I had some that I'd been promising and all this other stuff. So it's kind of been backlogged out, and so I'm trying to get them all back in.
Well, how many? Just to give an idea, how many outstanding ones do you have right now that you've yet to do?
1, 2. I think there's 3 or 4 left. I think there's 4 left.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, and but one's already in the can, luckily, so that's going to go Saturday. So yeah, it'd be, I guess, 3 left.
And let me ask you, like, how do you like doing those collaborations? Is that something that you enjoy doing, or would you rather, like, in place of that, do like your own music?
Well, I mean, generally, I'll always try to find a place to do my own stuff, just because it is what it is, you know what I mean? But it's nice too to do collabs because it kind of forces you into a different style. I mean, the one coming up Saturday is gonna be way different than anything I've ever done, but it's no different than stuff I was hired to do back in Las Vegas. So it's kind of like sort of bringing back that past a little bit and putting it out here for kind of the first time. So it's going to be interesting.
What kind of music is it?
It's a ballad, and it's a gorgeous ballad.
Wow.
And it's with Music is the Window to the Soul, who's a fantastic singer. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
If you haven't, check her out. She's got this voice that's amazing, and it was kind of funny because she we had talked a little bit back and forth. She was like, "Yeah, it'd be nice to collab sometime," and I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then she sent me a list of songs. She's like, "Here," and it had like Boston on there and a bunch of other ones, and I'm Queen, right? And I love those songs, but they're so out of my wheelhouse, because they're so exacting. I mean, you try to deviate from a Tom Schultz line. You know what I mean?
No, you can't.
It won't happen, and I'm a real deviator. You know what I mean? I've got to kind of go whatever. So I'm like, oh man, these are going to be hard. And so then I sent over some ideas for some like heavier kind of, up, jamming tunes, like kind of sort of semi-hard rocking, but like a Black Cat, Janet Jackson. I thought that'd be kind of a neat one to do, something like that. And
right.
She's like, well, no, that's kind of not my thing, whatever. And so I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, instead of going heavier, why don't we just go lighter? These are songs I used to do on the Strip. And so I gave her a choice of those, and she picked one, and it turned out really good.
Wow, looking forward to that. Yeah, you've got, I noticed a lot of like I see a lot of people on your channel that I don't see on mine, and a lot of other, like, you have a very specific audience that seems to really enjoy what you do. And by the way, folks, if you're not sub to Jimmy, I highly recommend it. I have his link in the description below. So for those of you that don't know, Jimmy is a monster player, and he can play pretty much anything at breakneck speed. So, yeah, and you do your weekly show. Your weekly show, we're talking about this off air. You moved it Sundays, I think. Is it? Well, what is it in Pacific time on Sundays now?
So I have it at 8:00 Pacific time. That was kind of sort of I want to say a trial run. So I'll probably stick to that, or I might go an hour later. Eventually, I'm not sure, but for the time being, it is 8:00 Pacific time,
which I believe works out to 11 Eastern.
Correct.
Right. So, and he's out there and he's playing his heart out, and the thing is, what's cool about you is you're you're playing like the most insane shit, and at the simultaneously addressing the chat. Talk about ambidextrous. You could probably be juggling with your feet at the same time as
It gets hard though when you slow down, the moment I slow down and I'm like maybe trying to play some, even a typical blues lick, I can't do it.
Can't play blues lick. That's hilarious.
I'll be in the stream and I don't know, I'll slow down and say you come in the chat and I happen to be slow down in a blues lick and I want to say hi to you. I'll be like, guitar hack.
Okay, so you're in time with the music even as you're speaking.
With the fast, then it can just be normal conversational. But the way you have to be guitar hack.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. So I had a friend over today and we were talking music and collaborations and composition and stuff like that. So let me ask you this. When you're listening to, let's say, even the spacey jazzy thing or the one that you just did, are you the type of person that when you're hearing it, you can hear parts in your head before you even play them? Like, are you composing as you're hearing it?
Sometimes, or sometimes I think it's probably more like the essence. You know what I mean? So it's probably like anything else, like when you get out and speak to people or whatever, you kind of carry around a really loose bag of concepts that you want to talk about. But then when you talk about them, they come out however they come out, So it's kind of like that, I guess. It's, like honky tonk women. I'm like, immediately, I'm like, okay, I know there's probably going to be a lot of bends in that, a lot of pentatonic bends, for example, or double stop bends, or try to throw in a little country. So I kind of know that kind of going in, but then I try to just let it run the count and go for it, try to get as much of that the first time, so that it's still fresh.
That's interesting because I tend to hear parts, like as opposed to finding stuff on the guitar, like just using the guitar as sort of the guide. It's more what I hear, and then I'm trying to translate what I hear into the guitar.
Yeah, I can hear that in your playing. It's a really good way of putting together your phrases, right?
Yeah, like you can. Yeah, it's it's almost like, I mean, everybody's got a different approach, but when I hear, like right now, like you've got 4 in that you're working on. I've got one that I just got, and what thrills me to death, because and it's not all music. There's some music I hear, like someone will ask me, "Oh, can you play over this?" And then I listen to it and it doesn't grab me. There's nothing inspiring. There's nothing, I don't have those thoughts, and then when somebody sends me something like this one I have now, that I don't want to give it away, but it'll probably won't come out for a while yet, because I think there's a couple people involved. But man, as soon as I heard this, it's like right away, I hear all these things, ideas in my head. It's like, and it just inspires me. It's like, oh man, and now it's just a matter of finding those things and playing them. And then I'll even hear effects. It's like, oh man, it's almost like the music is screaming at you. You have to play this on this part. It's like it's screaming at me. This needs some wah. This needs, whatever, right? It's almost like that, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's something that, like, when I would study players a lot, I spent a lot of years having to study players, when I was teaching. And it's like, like watching a player like yourself, I'd be like, it hit me, and you've probably seen it in my comments where I'm like, man, that phrasing is just insane, because you have this way of just having this phrase that kind of speaks to you almost, and it kind of sings, and the way you connect your ideas together is just such a nice logical flow, that every time I'm just like, that's awesome,
Well, coming from you, that's a huge compliment. But improvising is just that. It's improvising, right? So, if you take and I hit my fair share of bum notes and pitchy bends and all that stuff. But the thing is, it's like I can hear the parts. It's like, I know this is going to sound good, all I want it, so, when you study, like here, the difference between you and me is you're an educated player and I'm just literally a guitar hack. So I'm not I don't know where the chord tones are, but I know where my ear wants to go.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's going to be a chord tone, right?
Right.
And the other thing that I really love, and it comes out more so when I do original music, and if anyone is listening to my original stuff, you'll hear a lot of it in every single song that I do. I absolutely love dissonance. I love
Yeah.
dissonance. I
Mm.
love when it's kind of off and when it's on. It's kind of like just riding that edge of it's
Get that pull with the notes. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? It's like it's funny because I don't want to make this a show about me, but sometimes when I'll go to record, when I do my recordings, I've talked about this on the show. I do it all at my brother's place. So my brother is an extraordinary musician and producer and all that. He's like when I go to record at his place, it's like imagine, me going to Van Gogh's house with a box of crayons. It's like, you know what I mean? That's how I feel. It's like he's tolerating me, right? But
Yeah.
the thing is, I'll play something and he'll say to me, "That's not going to work," and that part, and then I'll play it, and he's like, "That's right on the edge." I'm like, "That's where I want to be." Love that. I love that.
Right on the razor's edge. Yeah.
Right on the edge, man. It's like, there's that tension. Is it going to resolve? Is it going to resolve? I love that. I absolutely love that.
It's interesting you bring that up. There was an interview I read, I think. Yeah, it was Joe Satriani who talked about, he had said something to the effect of using dissonance in your playing at least a little bit. And he's like, you always got to make sure you at least do that. Otherwise you insult your audience. That was a quote from Satriani. And he said because of the fact that you're trying to stay so saccharine all the time, they get left, wanting something. You know what I mean?
It's exactly, it would be like, because it's all been done, right? It's like, if and you're a great example of this. I mean, okay, here's let's go real bare bone. Here's a 1-4-5, right? Well, Jimmy, I know you're not going to sit there and just play, oh, what key is it? An E? Okay, I'm going to play E pentatonical. You won't do that.
Yeah.
You might start there, but then you're going to, right?
Yeah, I kind of screwed myself actually, because now I can't go back to playing a normal E pentatonic anymore.
Isn't that
have chromatic fill notes or you can't play?
You can't, right?
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying, and I can't do it either. It's like, oh, I want to play all 7 notes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or I want to do like a real weird bend that kind of isn't there, isn't that?
Yeah, make it go somewhere.
Make it interesting, right? It's like watching the same movie. Okay, I've seen that movie 100 times.
Yeah.
Well, what if the character doesn't die at the end? Whoa, that's new, like.
Yeah. Exactly. The Quentin Tarantino approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. And and I'm like that even when I listen to music. It's okay, I like the guys that'll play the blues but throw a left turn in there, right? It's one of two things. Either they're really, really, technically brilliant, and they'll throw some interesting phrases in. Like, I mean, I love Joe Bonamassa, but I also love Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? And Stevie Ray Vaughan, he can play whatever the hell he wants because he's got feel and groove. Groove for me is a big thing. If you have groove, you conquer the world, right? And
exactly. Yeah,
he's got groove in spades, right? And that's why I'm a huge fan of Nuno Betancourt too. That guy's got groove up the wazoo, right?
Yeah.
But what's really, but again, now that I mentioned Nuno, I mean, if you listen to a Nuno solo, he doesn't play the predictable, okay, I'm gonna play, you know what I mean? He goes out and he plays these crazy phrases, that work within the context of the song, and they're outside the box and they make it interesting.
Yeah, he has crazy arpeggios and all kinds
Yes.
of way. Yeah, he'll break into this unexpected just set of like triplets or sextuplet notes, repeating like where'd that come from? You know, where'd you get that from? You know,
and everything he does is in perfect time.
mm-hmm.
You know, so he's one to not just play interesting stuff, but he can slice and dice the time and just make it still groove all over top of that, right? You know,
Exactly.
and you know, you got to play to your strengths. I mean, you've got chops up the wazoo. I unfortunately do not. So I try to take what limited ability I have and just try to make it interesting, right? You know, and how I make it interesting or try to do something a little bit different is, like I said, maybe play some of those outside notes, you know. And when I do original stuff too, I always try to put a lot of left turns in there. It's never predictable what I'm going to do. It's a straight ahead rock side. Now, wait a minute, he just turned left. What the hell is he doing? You know, that
Right.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I enjoyed. That's what
taking that listener on that journey. You know?
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what you do, whether it's a solo or you know, or you're writing a song. It's always, you just don't want to be predictable. You want to take the listener on a journey. That's really what it's all about. And in your case, when you're taking them on a journey, you know the name of the roads. I'm just like, this sounds cool. That's all. I like this. You know what I mean? You've got the map. I'm like driving blind here. It's like,
it's kind of like that, but really, actually, in all truth, I throw the map out. The map's usually gone. You know, most of it is because a lot of it's eroded. A lot of the modal system is actually just completely eroded from my brain somewhere along the way. But also too is that I get really afraid of getting too stuck in some kind of rut, because I'm a real comfort zone kind of person. So if I start soloing a certain way and I really like the way that sounds, you know, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm going to do that. I'm going to beat that like it's a dead horse, you know? So I always got to be a little uncomfortable somehow, you know, either make my guitar a little harder to play or make my sound a little shitty for 1 week or whatever, just to get out of that comfort zone, stay out of it, you know, never get comfortable.
You know, what I like that you do a lot when I've heard you is I love the way you play funk.
Oh, thanks, man.
You've got, you know, I mean, funk is hard.
Yeah.
I have a hell of a time with funk. I can't play funk to save my life. To play funk, you've got to have this right hand. It's all about the right hand. Forget what this hand is doing, because it's not doing a lot. It's the right hand.
It's the right hand.
You know,
well, it's really more. There's not really much going on with the right hand, unless you're doing like some of the really maybe the fast, you know,
yeah, that kind of thing.
Those are just like tricks, but really without that, you know, pure like actual funk, playing it really is more about accents. You know what I mean? It's like the more I make sure to add enough contrast between the right. It's that dynamic contrast that's what makes it funky, you know. And that's what I think. I've seen a lot of players, you know, when they would go on and be like, all right, I'll play funk now, da 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 da, and I'm like, no, you know, at least go da 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 da, right?
Yeah.
Make that accent pop, you know, and when you got that into the funk, then the instant funk, that accents, you know.
So tell me, who were like, I don't know if we got to this on the first show, but who are like because everybody has their guys, right?
Yeah.
These are the guys that I really look to. These are the guys that are my inspiration. So who are your, like, I mean, there's probably 100 of them, but who would be like your top 3-5 guys that are like, these are the guys that I really want to?
Well, you mentioned Nuno. Nuno was a huge influence on my playing. Because it was like, because I was just so into the 80s stuff, you know, and the 80s shredders, and I was listening to Paul Gilbert and all these people, you know, and I'm really digging on it. And all of a sudden, here's this guy doing this kind of funky thing. And I was kind of raised on funk, because that's all my parents ever played was Tower of Power, Through the House. They played Earth, Wind, and Fire. So that music was so ingrained in me. And then all of a sudden, I get this guy doing it and mixing it with metal or 80s, you know, 80s metal.
Yeah.
damn, man, this is crazy. So I obsessed over him, and I started obsessing over Vi. And then, later on, I got into Guthrie Govan, really big time, because I'm like, this guy kind of plays like I do, only like 3 million times better. So what the hell is he doing? And then I got into Sean Lane, and Sean Lane really kind of taught me the thing about the picking. He gave me permission to speed pick like a lot more. So I was kind of like, yeah, I want to try to emulate what he's doing, but then fit it into kind of like more of a funky side of things. That makes sense. And then Frank Gambale as well. Big fan of him.
Yeah, primarily a fusion guy, right?
Yeah, Frank Gambale, Scott Henderson as well. It was another fusion guy. Scott Henderson, he did an album with Victor Wooten and Steve Smith, who played drums for Journey.
Mm-hmm.
Henderson, Smith, and Wooten. He did 2 albums, and their very first album they did was incredible. But they had a song. It was the second song on there, and it's called Snake Soda. And I remember buying that disc, that compact disc, and I'm playing it. The first song's awesome, whatever. This song Snake Soda comes on, and it changed my life. I mean, 100% just changed my life.
Wow.
That I was like, oh my God, because he really took a lot of like what you and I were talking about with like balancing that dissonance and doing it in a very swingy way, almost like, and it's over a rock funk type thing. You got Victor Wooten back there, but they're playing rock. It's like a really almost like a hard rock song, but with this jazz so woven in there in these lines that he's playing. And it's like, it just blew my mind,
email me that. I want to hear that. That's very cool.
Yeah, Snake.
A couple of comments here more than questions. Tony is saying, Fruitcake is saying they announced the nominees for the 2021 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm almost afraid to know what those are.
Yeah.
Is Judas Priest one of them? Probably not. And there was another mention here. Somebody was, I think it was Don, was saying with funk, the syncopated rhythm hand, right hand.
Yeah. And a lot of it's not necessarily that, for me anyways, it's not really that I syncopate the hand. The hand can actually go back and forth. Really boring. Chukka, 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 chukka. And then you could hold, like, say, a 9th chord, for example, but, let your hand go limp and mute it. Chukka, 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 chukka. Right there, you could actually vary when you push down that chord. So you imagine this hand's just going wacka, 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 wacka all day long, but you're only sounding the notes at certain points. You can syncopate this hand, your fretting hand. That kind of thing.
Right.
And I'd show that on the stream a couple times. Maybe I'll try to do it again Sunday to kind of sort of show that. But that's how I used to teach people how to play funk. I just say, just let your hand go really boring back and forth and watch what happens when you vary what you're, whether you're fretting or whether you're not fretting.
Right.
That's like the entryway right into funk right there. And then from that point, then you start getting into the accents and stuff.
When you were mentioning picking there for a minute, so when you're like doing all the super fast shit, you're doing it's alternate pick, correct?
Yeah. I tried to cheat the system the best I could. I mean, I learned how to do economy picking. Of course, sweep picking is kind of its own animal, but economy picking is sort of that way of being able to, manage when you cross so that you could really kind of steal a pick stroke by doing a little mini sweep each. I tried that. Frank Gambale is a big proponent of that, and I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I'm just like, no, fine. I'm just going to go back and forth. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Steve Morse does it. So Steve Morse gave me permission. So I'm like, cool. So then after that, it was just a matter of trying to manage. Okay, well, what happens if I change direction? Because I'm always trying to go and change direction and, do that kind of thing. Not just run up and down a scale, but like, up and down. And so that sometimes skipping strings right in the middle, if I'm doing scale runs or whatever. So it's a matter of just brute forcing that pick and saying, I don't care, you're going to go over there, even if I have to, mute my left hand a little bit in the process or whatever. So it's a lot of that, and a lot of like trying to sort of isolate inefficiencies, so I'd be like, okay, well, I'm really horrible at ascending, because that was the biggest thing. I got to the point where I could go really fast descending, but I couldn't go up for the life.
I think everybody's faster going down than up. Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, why? Why am I having a hard time going up? And eventually before long, I kind of rallied, and I'd say, okay, well, can I just go up on 2 strings? Okay, good. Can I do 3? Okay, good. Once I could do 3, then it's, it just became a gradual thing. But each time I'd have to stop and go, okay, well, what are you doing wrong? Are you holding the pick a certain way? Try holding the pick this way, that way. Made a science out of it essentially, but I try to, I'm still trying to do that. Anytime I get the time to sit down with the guitar, I'm trying to find out, okay, where do you suck? How can you suck less at it?
So you're basically, even now, you're still spending time woodshedding.
Oh yeah. Anytime I can. Anytime I have a free moment, I'm gonna, because I love it. I mean, it's a lot of fun, because you go back and then you analyze. You say, okay, what am I doing well? Awesome. And it's always a matter of, I think it's, to me, in my opinion, it's really good to build off of what you do well. So even if it's like one little tiny thing, that could end up spawning like thousands of licks. So really kind of a whole repertoire, of playing just off of something that you might be strong at. In my case, it was funk. So everything else kind of branched out from there.
Right. No, that's interesting. And the thing is too, like the whole, human nature is, when you practice, so I'm going to play what I already know. What I already know I'm good at, right?
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
You have to work at what you're not good at, which is the part that sucks. But eventually you'll bring that up to a level where it's equal to everything else. Yeah. The ascending and descending thing, I still, with picking, I don't know if, and I'm down to 9 of 42 strings.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I still can't do the fast picking on the thicker strings. For whatever, always, and I've woodshedded that, like, just literally sit there with an open E string, just go digga 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 digga. I can do that on a high E string super fast for like ever.
Yeah.
But on low E, there's something about when I get to the thicker strings, I just kind of lose the tactile ability to control the guitar is controlling me. I'm not controlling the guitar.
Yeah. It's really tricky to kind of get tuned in with that. And even the guitar itself, might give you something different. I mean, I practice a whole ton on a Strat style guitar, and then I go over to the Les Paul and I'm like, whoa, got to rethink this. The saddle's laid out differently. You don't have that little middle pickup there that might actually kind of help guide your pick if you're picking over on that side. There's all those little nuances in there that.
It's funny, because usually people complain that the middle pickup is in the way, and you're saying it's a guide.
Oh yeah, it could act as a guide, because it keeps you from going way too deep. If you have that pickup set up just right, your pick won't get in the middle of the strings and slow you down. And they actually have, like, somebody was covering this guitar that has like almost like a hump right in the middle there. It's like one of those 2 humbuckers on either side, and there's actually the body kind of contours up toward the string to help people cheat.
Oh yeah, that was, somebody came out. I think Steve Stein was promoting that guitar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and so what it does is it keeps your pick depth, under control, so that your pick really still just going to be hovering right over the top.
That's R2R3 brings up a good point. He says, do fast runs on the bass. It will strengthen those fingers.
Very good point. Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually really good for the picking too, because then you have that huge space in the strings. It's actually easier to shred on the bass in a lot of ways, just because there's that big space.
You get that. Yeah, you get that. You can, even if you're uncontrolled, it won't spill into the other strings if you're uncontrolled with your picking.
Yeah. It's like, you're okay, you're allowed, you're fine, and then once you kind of know, okay, this string, oh, now I'm on this string and this string.
So, folks, as we talk, and we're going to be bouncing all over the place here. If you've got questions, please throw a bunch of question marks in front of your question. I can't see highlighted names because I got to rely on the StreamYard chat because I am also running on Facebook simultaneously. And welcome everybody. We got 63 folks in here. Thank you so much. You guys rock. And if anyone in here is unaware of Jimmy's channel, Guitar Meet Science, the link is below. Highly recommend it. Check out his channel. He does a weekly show, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern time, and just it's worth it. Just check it out. You'll love it. It's very good. It's very good.
We have a lot of fun. Things get weird, but that's kind of the goal.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're at the velocity that you play, I'm thinking I'm watching you go, and I'm like, okay, that's got to be all muscle memory because there's no way in hell you can think about where your fingers are going to go because you're just going so fast. Is that how true is that statement?
It is. It is in parts, because there are certain areas or scales or moods, that I kind of know, okay, I'm going to kind of get this mood if I do this. And I've probably run that pattern so many times, but at the same time, going back to the sort of MO to make sure that I make things absolutely as hard on myself as possible. I don't let myself get too far in there too long, so I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, now you got to break it up. So guess what? You're going to go over there somewhere. And I don't care if you know where the notes are or whatever, you're going to find your way back home. And sometimes it might be in key or it'll be horrendously out of key, but I'll make it okay. I know where that E's at. I'm landing there. Bam.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like I meant it,
It's funny though. I remember I had Ian Stitch on the channel a couple of days. He's a YouTube guitar instructor, really nice guy. And I remember one thing I said to him, I go, you can basically do whatever you want as long as you land on the right note. It's all about where you land and where you start, right? Everything else between, as long as it resolves, right? It's fine.
Yeah, you just fall down the stairs. You stand up all graceful, like, hey, I meant that.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of that. Yeah. Ton of that in my thing.
So here's a really geeky guitar question. So when you're here, like, okay, say whether it's a collaboration or something that you're working on originally and you're going to put a solo on it,
mm-hmm.
Like what is do you look at the chord progression and then use your musical knowledge to say, okay, here's the progression. It's in this key. Here are my options. Bang, bang, bang. I can do this and that. Or do you just kind of like, oh, here's the first chord and then just kind of wing it? What's your approach to that? Like, do you look at it modally? Do you verbalize that or think that or just go?
I'd say it depends on the song really, because if it's a song that really seems to maybe cry out for like needs maybe some nice guitar harmonies in it or some kind of really kind of melodic statement, then I might get a little bit more locked into the modes and say, okay, well, what would be some an effective note palette I should choose from, and then choose from that and kind of put something together that way. But 90% of the time, the songs I play aren't like that. They're usually just, songs with kind of an attitude to them or weirdness or whatever the case is. So it's kind of more of trying to just get the vibe, So I didn't get the vibe on take one or, take two, then I'll stop, do something silly, play some kazoo or something, and then go back to it again and just go for that vibe. Not for like technical perfection or any of that stuff, because take one, say, might be like technically completely clean or whatever, but then I'll listen back and be like, that's bland as all hell, Like, go back and it's just, if it's the take that has like a ton of mistakes, but it's got the vibe, then that's the one that's going out.
So what I was saying earlier, even though you said you didn't, it sounds to me like you do the same thing. when you hear a piece of music, it tells you what to play.
It does, yeah. Yeah,
It's screaming. You gotta stick to the mode, or you can't play outside. You gotta stick to these notes.
you'll have some songs that will dictate that, definitely. I think they do, anyways. I mean, it's just an opinion. Somebody might be like, "Well, no, absolutely not." But they may be like real natural improvisers over, say, something really melodic. And oftentimes with something melodic, you're when I say melodic, it could be a ballad or whatever. It's sometimes it tends to call for something that sounds more vocal, and usually vocals themselves are, there's usually been a lot of thought put behind a vocal line to construct that vocal line. So it's almost like you kind of want to make your solo sound like that too, to complement the voice. But since I don't do much of those, usually it's kind of more of a, all right, let's go in there and bludgeon it. Let's see what the hell happens, try to surprise myself,
Do you ever because this is something that I've been doing more and more, and because I've been told, and it actually works really well. Sometimes if I hear a piece of music, I'll sing a part.
Oh yeah.
So again, I'm not using the guitar. The guitar is not guiding me.
Yeah.
It's whatever I'm hearing in my head, and I'll sing a part. Oh, that would work really, really well. Sometimes I'll be sitting, whatever, and all of a sudden I'll hear a riff in my head, and I'll sing it into the phone, and then I'll come and I'll find it and I'll play it.
See, that's a great approach. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever do that?
Kind of. I mean, sometimes even on my stream, sometimes I'll be sitting there playing, and all of a sudden I realize that I've gotten stale. I might be in the middle of something, and all of a sudden I'm kind of like, okay, well, what the hell's happening here? I'm starting to rely on whatever muscle memory or whatever. So immediately then I'll sit back. Sometimes I'll do it in the mic, let everybody know I'm scatting, but oftentimes I'll just sit back from the mic and start humming to get me somewhere else,
Right.
Get me the hell out of this rut so I could go ahead and go back to improvising again. And so it'll take me there,
Yeah. It's interesting how when you're playing, how much of it is sort of getting back to that muscle memory and the mechanical part of it, and that dictating what you do, as opposed to what you would sing, which would probably be, because you're locked in. I mean, I shouldn't speak for you, but just for myself, and it's like, I know all these patterns, I know where all the notes are and all that. And if you get locked into that, your guitar solo is going to sound like a guitar solo.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to your guitar solo is like an alternate melody that would work nicely over these chords.
Right. And it's
what I mean?
Grabbing people's attention.
Yeah. And I think the best musicians are the ones that can kind of, I mean, the really good guys are the guys that can hear it and then execute it immediately, and also have the chops to decorate the hell out of it.
Yeah. I totally agree.
And then that's where you get your Satrianis and your Vais and your, you name it, whatever, right? I mean, cause when you listen to a guy like I mentioned Bonamassa, like he can rip and rip and rip and rip and rip, but when he's playing like a slow song, like a slow blues and whatever, where now he's really has to play not like where it's all about the notes and not about the the speed and all this.
Yeah.
That's when you really hear the artistry, I think, of the guy. Because this as well as I do, the best guitar solos in the world are the ones you can sing.
Yeah.
Are the hummable ones, the ones that you remember. You're not going to remember a flurry of notes. What you're going to remember, what's going to stick in your head, is a nice melody that worked against those chords, right? I mean,
see, I'm an odd guy, though. I like the unsingable ones the best. I do. I mean, or not necessarily unsingable as it being a condition, but it just turns out there's a Sean Lane solo that he played with Jeff Sipe and Jonas Hellborg when they did their live stuff, and he just goes and then I mean, it's insane, crazy flurry of notes, but he tells a story with it. That was the thing about his playing. So it's things like that. So for me, yeah, I like a bundle of notes that does that. I guess, but I see what you mean. I guess we all have our own preference, sort of. I do like a hummable melodic solo as well. That's why I can listen to Tom Schultz all day. I mean, that guy to me is like the king of those, or one of them.
Yeah, I would say Tom Schultz. Another guy I would throw in there would be Neil Schon.
Neil Schon, oh yeah, he's a
would
beast.
Be another one. Like you hear those signature licks, and it's like, holy shit, that's like perfection.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like you can't imagine anything better being played over that than what he's doing.
It's as if it must have wrote itself, and he just followed it.
Yeah. Another guy I'll throw in there is because I love Jimmy Page. He'd be another one, right? There's certain. I mean, holy shit, right? Like
Page is another one of my guys too. Yeah.
What we know? Yeah, see, talking about we were talking about the blues before. I mean, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but
yeah, that's right.
With the blues, right? Like, and I'll getting back to Jimmy Page, and I did a show recently where with a couple of guys we ranked the Zeppelin albums, and for me, I absolutely love when Zeppelin does blues because Jimmy Page is like probably, if not my favorite. Well, Stevie Ray Vaughan is it's close, but blues player because he takes that form and he pushes the shit out of it, like he extends it, and then. I mean, since I've been loving you, for example, like
he builds on everything that he does. He starts you here and he takes you way the hell over there.
Yeah, T for One off of Presence. I mean, just holy shit, man.
One of his finest moments in guitar was that song.
It's it's like, my God, like he takes it to all these other places. He's not just sitting there playing a pentatonic in E. You know what I mean? He's like,
no,
he's really pushing the parameters, like really pushing the confines of it and making it so damn interesting because it could be the most bland shit you've ever heard in your life.
Oh yeah. He does so many things. Like for example, the Stairway to Heaven solo. When you listen to it, I remember when I first went to tackle that solo, and I had it in my mind that he was just playing a pentatonic. The whole thing was just in pentatonic because it's got this real pentatonic flavor to it.
The opening lick is pentatonic. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's doing in that? Yeah, go ahead.
But there's that flat six flying in there. Like, where the hell did you come up with that? And yet you tricked me into thinking it was a pentatonic this whole time. He did all these unpredictable things in the Zeppelin songs like that, or Moby Dick, where he does that. If you try to break that down and actually try to figure out what scale those notes were in, they're not in scale whatsoever. It would be considered completely out of key, but yet you listen to them and it sounds just like a run that just totally fits right in with that 4 that they had changed to.
It's funny you mention that because I had the other day I had a show where I had actually Gene Schmidt is in here, and then I had Philip House, who actually is currently playing with the band Accept, and these guys were doing it as a Van Halen show. And so we were talking, they were showing how to play a bunch of Van Halen scales and this and that. And I said to them, so guys, what scale is he playing? And they're like, he's not playing scales.
Symmetrical shapes. Eddie Van Halen. He was another one.
Yeah. And the guy, I think it was Gene or Philip, I can't remember. And they were playing like, and it doesn't work. But when you play it at 100 miles a minute, it sounds amazing.
Oh yeah. And also Eddie too. Yeah, I see him. I mean, they're probably not doing this on purpose or whatever, but I'm like, Jimmy Page tricks you into thinking this. Eddie Van Halen would trick you into thinking that, he was playing minor over progression when really he's actually slipping in a major, and you're like, somehow this sounds extremely bright and awesome, and yet there's something else going on there, and until you break it down, it's like he's playing a major over that. When a major wouldn't normally fit over that, he made it fit.
Yeah.
That's why his lines sound so effervescent, often. Even like Ice Cream Man, for example, when he starts taking that symmetrical shape down during that part where they stop, at the
right.
It's like he's taking you almost like through these different worlds right as he's descending down that line. And a theoretician would be like, my God, that's so incorrect, and nope, that's perfect.
Yeah, they're talking about that, and some of the progressions he was putting in. It's like, who the hell writes this stuff? Right? Like,
yeah,
doesn't make any sense, but it works.
Or the end of Drop Dead Legs,
yeah.
Right, when he goes in and the way he builds that up, he's got those chords over there that almost sound like some kind of car passing you by or something. Friggin' brilliant guitar orchestration. And then he starts playing and he starts sticking in those little licks as it's starting to fade out. Yeah. And all of a sudden you hear him go completely way the hell off key. But it fit as if he were doing a pentatonic run. I mean, genius,
It works, yeah. Yeah. Well, R2 was saying how Jimmy was sloppy. I think part of his charm was that he was sloppy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was literally thinking faster than his hands could move.
Yeah. Yeah, he never really got too mixed up. It's like he never really fussed over the technique part of it. It was just a matter of getting his ideas out there.
Yeah, but the thoughts were there. Were there. Yeah.
Exactly. Get that essence out. He was going for that essence. And
yeah. And speaking of a master of incorporating, like, the major tinges within the minor, he was incredible at that.
Oh yeah. On his solo for Nobody's Fault But Mine, when he's doing basically a major pentatonic, so he's doing the E major pentatonic, and then when the band's picking up and they're grooving, and you hear him go, he hits that flat 5 in there, like, where the hell did that come from? And it works so well. It's almost like a Lydian tonality stuck in there. Because the song does have kind of a major feel to it. You're going da 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 da, D to the E, almost like a Mixolydian tonality. But he's throwing in that flat 5 in there and just landing on it like it's a main note, and it created so much tension.
Yeah. There's that tension again, right? The dissonance, that tension.
Yeah, he's able to use that and then take it back.
Resolves. Yeah. Cushman is asking, does Jimmy like Richie Blackmore? I have no idea.
I didn't grow up a lot on his stuff. I guess you could say I'm the casual listener. But everything that I've heard from him.
You talking about Richie or you're talking about Jimmy?
Richie Blackmore. Now, Page, no, I was far more than a casual listener.
Yeah,
I obsessed over that guy, actually. Just every single line that he played. And it's funny because I can't really cover him to save my life. You know what I mean? I guess because part of my mind just won't let me. It's like, no, you can't do him justice, man. Just leave Jimmy Page alone.
Yeah. Well, it's, I mean, well, I mean, I was going to say there's guys, but I guess this really would apply to everybody. I mean, you could learn a Jimmy Page solo note for note, but you'll never sound like him playing it.
Right.
There's a certain, little micro bends and tensions and this and that and attack and whatever, that you just can't copy. I mean, I've heard guys like, Stevie Ray Vaughan, there's a lot of guys that copy Stevie, right? And some guys get really, really close, right? Or Hendrix. I remember a guy when I was, coming up, and this guy was like the Hendrix guy, and he copped that vibe and he had that feel and whatever. But then there's other guys that, you can't even get close to them, even if you're playing it exactly, the note for note what they're doing. There's just like that, and that's what makes them special players. That's what gives them their characteristic sound. But everybody has that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can play your licks and you can play my licks, but I won't sound like you and you won't sound like me. That's the beauty of everybody has their own voice on the instrument, right?
Well,
You
it's like how, it was interpreted, because yes, Page has done some sloppy playing. He's done his share of sloppy playing. And in the middle there, he's also, it's not, not slop. It's more of oftentimes it's more of a just kind of a going for it kind of feel. And to duplicate that, it's like trying to duplicate an accident. How do you do it?
yeah, yeah.
So natural is just coming out of him. And so it's hard to duplicate something that's so natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Not to say that Vaughn isn't natural. It's just the thing about Vaughn is that everything he did was so distinctive, and really Stevie Ray Vaughan, I always saw him as a guy who kind of subscribed to the Bruce Lee quote mentality. You know what I mean? Because I could put on a Stevie Ray Vaughan, one of his concerts, in my car going to and from work or whatever. And by the time I get to song number 3, I already heard a lick that was in song number 1. But that's not a criticism. Instead, what that is that's kind of an ode to this guy's genius, is that he could take a lick, play it again over here, and it's like entirely brand new. Like, unless you're critically listening like I do, I don't realize it. It'll fly past me that I might have heard that lick over here. But I'm listening, and all of a sudden it hit me, and I was like, whoa, wait a second, and I go back and I listen, and I could hear. And it goes back to that Bruce Lee quote where Bruce Lee was like, I fear less the opponent who's practiced 10,000 kicks than the one who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. And that's kind of, the Steve Ray Vaughan thing, is that he kept his playing down to sort of, I want to say, like a small array of licks, not letting himself get too lost, mastering them so friggin' well, and then just placing them, like orchestrating them basically. And that's kind of sort of what the genius of his playing was.
Yeah. And the feel that he had when he played those licks was just undeniable. One of the there's a lot of videos out of him playing, but there's one went early on, and I think most people have seen it, or hopefully if you haven't seen it, I highly suggest it. It's called Stevie Ray Vaughan at the El Macombo, which is actually a club here where I live in Toronto. And he's just starting out. I mean, I think Texas Flood just came out.
Small club. It was kind of like a red background, red stage.
I don't remember the red, but it was a small club. He's wearing that hat and, like a flowery kind of shirt.
Yeah. And the hat, it was like I remember, like one of those.
Yeah, he played Lenny, played Texas Flood and whatever. And
people were just dancing and having a good time.
Yeah, like you're watching that and you're like, this guy just oozes music. It's so second nature. It's like breathing, Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most. There's a couple of guys that I've seen, that just blow my mind. He's one. Nuno Betancourt. Even if you don't like extreme, go watch. What's it called? It's in Boston. Wanted or something alive or whatever. It's on YouTube. Wanted Dead or Alive or something like that or whatever. It's in it's a more recent concert. I mean, that is a display of guitar master playing, like that. Just, and the thing is, all that stuff that he does on the electric, he does all that crazy ass stuff even more on an acoustic. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So, some of the stuff from he had that one acoustic solo on Waiting for the Punchline, which Waiting for the Punchline is probably one of my favorite albums of all time, period.
Yeah, and that's the one that did shitty.
Yeah, and my God, his guitar tone in that, man, that's easily one of the best guitar tones coming from any guitarist. It's right up there with Stevie Ray Vaughan.
They're supposed to be putting out a new record, but the last one they did, which is called O Saudade, which is Portuguese for memories, there's Star on that, which is an amazing song. There's so many good songs on that That's a really good record. I mean, they should have been so much bigger, man. You know,
Yeah, I thought they got typecast with More Than Words. You know,
more
I
than
mean,
words, save them and kill them at the same time.
it's a great song, and I think it also kind of looks back a little bit at Nuno's Portuguese folk roots. You know, so you could hear some of that in that song, which made it kind of a little more exotic sounding for the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nuno and me, we're come from the same place. He's like one island over from me. My
Huh.
entire family comes from one island in the Azores, and Nuno is like the next island over.
So you could hear that in the song.
I can hear. I know. I can hear the poor
Probably
cat.
like, oh, I know that really well, right?
Yeah, yeah. And he's one of the, and he's a natural musician, and his entire family actually, they all play. The brother toured with them when he was on when he did his solo thing. That was his brother on guitar,
Oh
and he
wow,
had his nephew playing bass at one point. Everybody plays.
that's crazy.
Everybody plays, and they're all great players, right? So,
But yeah,
sorry,
oh,
go ahead, Jimmy.
oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say that was the thing. It was like, you know, thinking back to the time period of the '80s. You know, or was it late '80s? It was like maybe '90, I think, when they came out with
Yeah.
that. So it was that. It was so funny because the same thing happened to them as what happened to Mr. Big. Because I know I was into Mr. Big. I really liked their first album. That's one of my guilty pleasures.
Right.
Was Paul Gilbert. I mean, his stuff was so fresh. He was just doing all this crazy stuff and all the string skipping and you know, him and Sheehan playing off of each other. And but they both hit around the same time, both with their ballads, and both bands just kind of as a result.
There's a video I've seen on YouTube, Paul Gilbert at the Iridium.
Oh,
It's recent. I mean, he's got the short hair and he's playing that. What's he called? The guitar, the Fireman or something that Ibanez.
Yeah,
You should see that. That'll blow your mind. And he's playing every freaking. He's a sick player. And the thing is, he's not a shredder. He's got tons of feel. He's playing a variety of material. He's not just sitting there going, not that, not Racer X. He's playing like really good lines, a lot of very like R&B type stuff, rock stuff, and then he's jazzy stuff, and then he's got a little bit of pop infused stuff. Like it's all amazing playing and really, really, and the guy can freaking sing.
Oh yeah.
Which is he's not known for that, but he can sing a song or two, man.
A lot of personality in his voice too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I knew a guy that roomed with him way back when, and I was like, Paul Gilbert, really? He's like, oh yeah, he's a great guy, and he goes, he loved to cook Chinese food all the time. He was trying to perfect his recipes. He's like, so I ate well, and I'm like, well, yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah. Well, we're a little over the hour, so I just want to I'm going to be wrapping this up in a few. So if anyone's got questions, please put a bunch of question marks in front of them. In the meantime, I'm going to direct everyone to below. I have a link to Jimmy's channel, Guitar Meets Science. If you're not subscribed, I highly suggest you do. It's an awesome channel. Also, if you'd like to support this channel, the Hack channel, we've got t-shirts, hats, mugs, all that. That's through Teespring. We also have, somebody was asking me today, do you have masks and gaiters? And I have all of that. So that's all in the Teespring store. Also, I have, if you like hats, I got 3 different logos and all kinds of styles of hats. That's from the Spreadshirt store. That's below there as well. And a PayPal if you prefer, that's down there, which would be great. There's also my Facebook page. There's my Facebook group, all that stuff. Email, it's all down there if anyone wants to reach me for any reason. Yeah, we got a lot of folks in here, 54 people. So Jimmy, what's coming up on your channel? What anything in store, any surprises?
Yeah, I think next Saturday's upload will be quite a departure from anything else I've done. And it's a collaboration with Music is the Window to the Soul. A phenomenal female vocalist. Her range is just, I don't know, indescribable. Let's put it that way. So that's going to be a real treat. Then after that, I have a couple other collabs in the works as well. So I'm not quite sure, where those are going to fall in line, or, how they'll be uploaded, or when they'll be uploaded, or if they'll be uploaded, or I just be linking to them. I'm not sure yet, because it's been kind of all over the place. But yeah, definitely Saturday is going to be an interesting one.
Cool. There's a question. Oh, there it is. Andy Dion. He's asking, you ever think of making a lesson course? This is definitely for you.
Andy Dion, you rock, man. Yeah, I've thought about it for a very long time. I'm still not quite sure if I'm going to do that, or if I'll have time to do that. But I'd like to do something like that. Try to maybe find a way to sort of bridge the gap into sort of giving people the option of being able to maybe, incorporate some speed and things like that into their playing, but kind of be able to do it in sort of a musical way. So that'd be kind of the push towards it. And also to bring in lots of nice dissonance, because we like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right.
Andy.
All right. So I want to thank everyone. Folks, if you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. That would also be very much appreciated. I want to thank Jimmy for being here. This was a fun show. The hour absolutely blew by, which is always a good sign. Next week on the Hack channel, folks, we're going to be doing a Kiss show. Surprise. It'll be myself, Martin Popoff, and a mystery guest. And we will be, this is going to be a bit of a twist. Instead of picking our top 10 Kiss albums, we're going to pick our least favorite 5 Kiss albums. So, excuse me, that'll be the show next Wednesday. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show. You guys rock. Have a fantastic week. And we will see you all next week. Hang on a second, Jimmy. Cheers, everybody. Oops. There we go. Take care.